Now, you may be thinking prophetic masterpiece is a bit strong for a movie about an awkward girl who discovers that she's a princess, but I can assure you it is not. And by the end of this video, I will have proven that to you. In fact, prophetic simply means accurately describing or predicting what will happen in the future. And that is exactly what this movie does. It is a map, it is a prediction for your life. It's the story of everyone who has ever felt invisible or small or like you didn't quite fit in. It is if you've ever had the thought of, I don't belong in the life I am living, but I don't know how yet to step into the life that I am called to, then I am going to show you through this video, step by step, how this movie is a blueprint for you walking into your destiny, rediscovering your spark, and stepping into who you have always been. This is not the story of Mia Theropoulos. This is the story of you. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. So let's get right into it.
Time for school! Stop daydreaming! You'll be late for school!
Okay, so what you're like, what, Daniel? Why are we already stopping? There was nothing there. There was everything there. And this is how I want you to be able to start looking through the own story of your life. Because you see, directors and writers are very intentional, but you know who's the best director and writer? God. And he literally orchestrated the story of your life that you're living right now. And so directors and writers will give you breadcrumbs, foreshadowing, and those are trails that will lead you to your destiny. And this foreshadowing is happening all the time in your own life as the things that you are doing right now will give you insight into the life that you're going to have in the future. Now, this can happen in good ways and bad ways. Now, the bad ways might be if you are used to scrolling on TikTok every night, then that is foreshadowing that you probably are not going to actually get to the goals that you want to get to, and that the things that you're saying that you want to do, you're not putting action behind them. And so we can guess how that story is going to end. But if you are spending the money that you're meant to be saving on shopping and Uber Eats and makeup or video games or whatever your thing is, then we have a clue into what your financial situation is going to look like, and it's going to eventually come crashing down. And on the good side, we can see foreshadowing in the seeds that are being planted. And if you have a dream right now, then it's for a reason. And if you have a vision, a pull, a fascination, and interest, then it is likely foreshadowing to what your calling is. And you'll only see in hindsight how it all works out and that it couldn't have happened any other way. And right now, we have already seen some breadcrumbs. What did the song say? It said, "Sometimes I have dreams, picture myself flying." It literally said her mother called out to her saying, "Mia, stop daydreaming. It's time for school." What does that have to do with anything? This shows that she already at the beginning, the movie is telling us something is not right. She's not fitting in and she's not where she belongs. She's daydreaming about being somewhere other than where she is. And that's always a really big sign that you're not where you're meant to be.
Are you feeling confident?
Not really.
Okay, now just remember, when you make your speech,
Don't look at the people.
So in this scene, Mia's mom is really just giving her advice for her speech, which Mia says she is not confident for. And again, this is just going to plant a seed for something that is going to be important later in the movie. And again, our life often works like this because this is when you get the trial before you get the test. You often will get trials before you actually get the final test in life. And the Lord will give you opportunities to pass before you get that big thing that happens. And now it's time for you to make that final decision. That's pivotal. But you're building up the muscles to do that by all of the little opportunities you have to make decisions and actions in line with who you want to be. And the decision that you make in that test is going to be based on the preparation and the study that you did beforehand.
Oops. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I was.
So this movie does a really great job, great meaning a very obvious job at making sure we understand just how invisible Mia is. In the scene before this, which I'm not trying to show too much of the movie so that it doesn't get completely taken down, but in the scene before this, the principal speaks to her friend and knows her name, but she doesn't know Mia's name. And you see this boy literally just sat on her because she's so invisible that he didn't even realize she was sitting there. And what I'm about to say is probably going to be different than what you think I'm going to say, but it's this. Your existence does not demand your acknowledgement. There is a reason why the people who are known in school are generally the people who are constantly at the top of the class or in the bottom of the class, which is a different conversation. But the people who are known for their excellence. And the sad thing is, even the bad kids are known for their excellence in being bad. Even infamous people are still famous. And so, yes, we are owed dignity and we have value as image bearers of God, and that we should be valued in that way. And I'm not saying people should sit on you just because you aren't necessarily well known. But if you haven't done anything in terms of the work, then you can't expect anyone to think that you are someone worth knowing. And there are no participation trophies. You don't get to be acknowledged and esteemed just for showing up and just for existing, and not even just for trying. It comes with execution, actually achieving the things that you set out to do. And each of us is expected to do all that we can with whatever it is that we have. And if you find yourself invisible, then it's probably a good sign that you're out of alignment, that you are not in a place that allows you to flourish in your zone of genius. If people at your job don't know your name, at your school, at your church, or whatever it is, and I'm not talking about being famous necessarily, but I'm talking about being known for excellence in your arena and your craft, then you're probably in the wrong arena, or you maybe don't even understand what your craft is at this point. And so that is a good sign in this movie that Mia is out of alignment because she is not where she is meant to be, and you probably aren't either.
She's gonna barf. Oh, look out, she's gonna hurl.
Yeah, so that's what happens when Mia tries to give the speech in her debate class, and she literally throws up and runs away. And later she tells her mom that she feels like she is never going to be good at public speaking. And that's another thing you really have to be mindful of is the words that you speak over yourself. Even if it's something you feel like isn't your strong suit, try saying something instead like, I'm going to improve at this, or it isn't my strong suit yet, but I'm working to be better at it every day. The second that you turn your brain off from doing something, you'll never actually be able to unlock that skill. I was the same way with math. Growing up, I was terrible in math. My grades in every other subject were phenomenal except for math. And there was at some point where I just decided I'm just not good at math. And so let's say we're in an escape room and there's a math problem, or somebody asked for quick math off the top of their head. Hey, does anybody know what X and Y are? And I would automatically be like, oh, I suck at math, so I can't really answer that for you. But what happened when I started implementing this and I started saying, well, I am improving at math, and I can get better at math than I was when I was young. And I wasn't sitting around doing multiplication problems all day, but all I did was allow myself to actually think about the problem. And I realized I'm actually a lot better at math than I thought that I was. But if I would have kept that wall up, then I would never have been able to have that breakthrough. And so, really understanding that who you say that you are and that you aren't will determine who you even have access to becoming. Okay, so in this next scene, you're gonna see a conversation between Mia and her mom. And the context of this is that her grandmother from Genovia, who she's never met before, wants to have tea with her. And let's see what they say.
She's in town. She wants to have tea. Tea? She came all the way from Europe to have tea. Your father hoped that you two would meet someday.
All right, I'll go.
Now, why am I pointing this out? It's because destiny often starts with one decision, one pivotal decision. And you can probably already think of times like this in your life. The decision that led to you meeting your spouse or having your child or being at the job that you're at or having the car that you're at or living in the city or going to the school you went to. That often it's one single decision that completely shifts the trajectory of our entire life. And so for Mia, that is her deciding to meet her foreign grandmother for tea. And one thing you have to understand is sometimes there are these big decisions, but oftentimes it is the little decisions that make up the culmination of our entire life. And your destiny is behind your daily actions and your decisions. Your decision to, eat another donut versus to, enjoy some strawberries is going to determine the track of your fitness, not whether or not you go out one time for a birthday night, right? Your decision to work on your business at night instead of staying up and watching another episode of that Netflix show you really love is going to determine the trajectory of the rest of your life. And so don't avoid or don't think that it's all in those big life-changing decisions. At this time, Mia did not know that this was a life-changing decision. All she knew was her grandmother wanted to meet her, and that is what she agreed to. So be very mindful because those decisions are what is going to determine your destiny. Now, I want you guys to hear what is said to Mia when she walks through the doors of her grandmother's house. And y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but when I explain it to you, you might be shouting with me, okay?
Welcome, Miss Thermopolis. We've been expecting you.
What did he say? I need y'all to type this in the comments if you heard it. We are expecting you. We've been expecting you. Y'all don't understand. See, what God has planned for you has always been expecting you. That's what the word says. It literally says that he created the good works for us to do before he even created us to do the work. He created us to walk in the assignment that he has given us. And so when we step into the room that he has prepared for us, they too will say, we have been expecting you. The person who is going to be moved by the book, who's going to pick it up off the shelf and read it, is going to say, oh my gosh, I have been expecting this. I have been looking for this. I have been needing this. Okay. And that is what you have to understand. And there are other parts of this where she's in this beautiful estate and she's kicking over things and she's clumsy and she runs across the grass. And at that point, she's so malmannered and she's touching stuff and she just seems so out of place. But what you have to understand is that the girl that she is now doesn't belong there, but the woman that she will become does. And so do not be intimidated about the woman that you are now not being able to get where you are meant to go, because God is going to equip you to do what he has created you to do. So in this next scene, Mia's grandmother, Clarice, is telling her that her father was actually a prince. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, sure. My father was the Prince of Genovia.
Uh-huh, you're joking.
You're not just Amelia Thermopolis. You are Amelia Mignonette Thermopolis Rinaldi, Princess of Genovia.
Me? A, a princess? Shut up!
So this is just perfect because as many people would say that they're happy and jumping up and down and be so excited, the truth is when our calling, when destiny comes knocking at our door, most of us are so fearful to actually answer. And that's Mia's response here. She's like, I cannot believe it. And if we were told our fullest potential, it would likely frighten us more than it would actually excite us, because we aren't the people now that we are going to be once we get there. And so Mia, she starts talking about all the reasons why she can't do this. She says that she's clumsy. She says she can't speak. She says she's never led anyone. Anybody getting any remnants of Moses in there? And he said, hey, God, I can't do this. I'm not a good speaker. And she's talking about what she does. But the queen is talking about who she is. You see, in this scene, Queen Clarice says, I am helping you become the princess you are. This is something I really want you guys to understand. And she says, I can teach you what to do, but being a princess is who you are. You see, it's not about becoming something that you're not. It's about stepping into who you have always been. I have this theory called the second spark. And basically, it's that at birth, we were all gifted with an initial spark, a dream, a gift, a light, an inclination, something that's really an assignment for us to fulfill in this world. But for most people, that spark gets blown out by our environment, by our teachers, by the school system, by other kids. And we hear all of these lies so long that we start to believe them ourselves, which I can bet happened to Mia and happened to you too. And it could just be something as simple as the moment on the playground where a mean girl says something and she says, oh, you're stupid. And for a moment, you actually agreed with her. Or maybe she says, be quiet. No one cares what you're talking about. And you don't have the faculty and the consciousness to actively combat that unless you've been having really good counter coming in from your parents and stuff at home, which unfortunately most of us just didn't. And so then maybe you stop and think, maybe no one does care about what I think. Or maybe there's a single moment of you hiding behind your mom's leg and everyone says, oh, she's so shy. She's so shy. And unintentionally, it encourages you to now sink back into the shadows. And then that spark, that thing you were created to do, it slowly fades until it is nothing but embers. But for those who dare to find it, there is a second spark. And this is when we rediscover who we are and what we are made for. And I have found mine, and I've been able to help countless others do the same. And I'm in the middle of a process for creating something to help you too. So if you do feel that and you feel dull and you feel numb and you're daydreaming and knowing that something is missing, but you don't know what it is or how to find it, then this is your invitation to join my newsletter, Once Upon the Impossible. It's completely free, where I send out weekly guidance on how to get that sparkle back in your eyes and the spark in your heart to truly uncover the purpose in your life. So if you want to do that, you can check it out in the description of this video.
I'm no princess. I refuse to move to and rule a country. And do you want another reason? I don't want to be a princess.
Okay, I don't want to be a princess. And she says this, and then she swiftly gets her things and runs away. Now, this is so important. Sometimes we confuse what we don't want with what we don't believe. And a lot of times we feel like it is safer for us and we can protect ourselves from disappointment if we just pretend that we don't want that thing at all. And so I have taught people how to make money and build wealth for a long time. And I often heard people say things like, "Oh, I don't even need to make a lot of money. I don't even if I could just have $10,000 a month. If I could just have $5,000 a month." And it's like they put these limitations and it's like, "Well, why would you want to make less money if with the same amount of effort you could make more money?" And it's because you don't believe that you can. If you believed that you could, then you would. And so Mia thought that she was so far out of her league, that it wasn't her gifting, her abilities, and all that, that she didn't even believe that she could be who she was born to be. So let me ask you this. What are you saying that you don't want that you truly do within your heart of hearts? That impossible thing that seems so far away that if you could do it, you would, but you've convinced yourself you don't want it because you're afraid to face the rejection of it not coming true. That is the thing that you should probably be pursuing more than anything else. So, in this conversation, Mia is talking to her mom about how she could keep something like this from her for her entire life. And her mom, in the situation that she was in with her dad, they were married, and then the father had to ascend to the throne unexpectedly because the older brother, ended up going and like becoming a priest or something like that. And basically, now her mom is explaining like why she divorced her dad and why she never told her and why she didn't continue in the marriage in the first place. And it's really telling what she says. Let's watch.
We met in college. I was young. I wanted to paint. I was scared.
That That is it. You see, everything that else came before that, "Oh, I don't wanna walk somebody step behind someone. I wanted to paint." She could have painted and still done that, like, she knew that. But what did she say? She told the truth at the end there, and that is that she was scared. That's what it was, it's the fear that was holding her back. Her own perception of herself. She viewed herself as a person who couldn't thrive in that environment, even though there's no inclination that she ever even tried, that she never even tried to see if that would even suit her better than what she thought that she was into at that time. She didn't give any space for her interests or her curiosity to grow in that area. And this is the thing, like her own perception of her determined what she couldn't do and what she wouldn't like, even though she hadn't actually tried it. And a lot of times, our hesitations and fears are not our own. They are adopted and they are absorbed. They are passed down like family heirlooms, all of the trauma and patterns and all of this stuff. And so you can tell that that fear is something that Mia inherited and even then multiplied, and that she is even more scared of things, it seems, than her mom is. And that that is part of what is really leading her in her actions right now and in her decisions is that same fear mindset that caused her mother to literally leave her father and to make the decisions that she has made right now.
Mia promises neither to accept nor reject your offer to be royal until this grand ball, and then she makes her decision.
So they both agree that again, Mia is not going to make her decision until this grand ball. And I need some of y'all to take a page from this, okay? Because some of y'all reject the palace when you haven't even gone into the proper preparation to set foot in the place, okay? So many of you are so focused on the ends that you've neglected the means and that you have neglected the fact that the person that you are now is not the same person who will do the thing that you are destined to do, that there will be a season of pruning and shaping, and that the seed that is planted into the ground is not the same form or the same maturity or the same age as the tree that will eventually produce the fruit. They are in completely different stages, but for some reason, you're looking at yourself as this little seed that has been in the ground for 4 minutes and thinking, "How will I ever? I can't produce apples." No, you can't. You cannot produce apples as you are right now. But by the grace of God, through sunlight and water and the increase that the Lord provides, He will turn you into a tree that can produce the fruit that He has ordained for you to produce. But we just have to hold on, okay? Because the same Joseph who had the dream of his brothers bowing to him was not the same Joseph who stood before them when that prophecy actually came to be. Now, I gotta wait a second, okay? And you have to trust that if the Lord put the vision and that spark in your heart, then He is going to do the work through you also doing the work, and you partner in that work in you growing to become who is going to produce the fruit that He created you to produce. So at this point, Mia and her friend have been picked up. They're being chauffeured around by the driver of Queen Clarice. And so they're in the car now, and it's got the flags of Genovia, and here's the request that Mia makes regarding that.
Can you please park a block away from school? I really don't want to cause a riot with this hearse.
So you see, she asks him to park a block away from school. She asks him if he can remove the Genovian flags from the vehicle as well. And it's so funny because what is happening, even though she's now aware of her new identity, where she is destined to go, she isn't comfortable with it yet. And so she's doing what most of us do. We hide behind who we currently are and who we know ourselves to be because it is comfortable, or to not make those around us uncomfortable. And I'll give you two examples of what this has looked like in my own life. One example is I used to be very practical, very utility focused, and I wore that as a badge of honor, that I didn't play around with frivolous things like clothing and hair and makeup that were just a simple waste of time. And there was this box I had and I couldn't get out of it because it was not that that's who I necessarily wanted to be. I would admire the women who actually took time to put themselves together, but in order to excuse myself from that discomfort that I had with doing it, I just pretended that I was okay with that and that I didn't even want it. And I'm like sitting over here and I'm like, well, this is just who I am. And it was more comfortable to stay the way that I was than to try to venture out and do something that would make me uncomfortable or the people around me. Because once I started dressing in a more feminine way, I started wearing dresses and people ask me, well, what are you so dressed up for? Where are you going? Who are you trying to impress? And so sometimes we don't shine our light even for fear of making people around us feel bad. And that is doing a disservice not only to you but to them, because you shining your light is not just going to provide for you, but it's going to give warmth to the people that God has put in your community as well.
The scarf is merely a training tool. Eventually, you will learn to sit and eat properly without it. Manners matter.
Okay, and we see that clip of her at the dining table and she's learning manners. And then we see this next clip of her dancing.
We have a Genovian alternative. Now the dance is here. Very sedate, right?
And so you get these clips all throughout the movie of her doing these little things. She's learning how to wave. She's learning all this different stuff. And she goes through princess training. And this is the part where we get it. Movies have to shorten this part in order to make it a movie and not like 15 years. But it's done a disservice because if the movies were time accurate, this is majority of the movie. Majority of the movie of your life is the middle part that all of the media cuts out because it's not as exciting. And the work and the training and the growing and the becoming. And it's not a fun montage. You don't get to end in an hour and 30 minutes. You don't get to just have a little, couple of montages and you're the best kung fu warrior that the world has ever seen, or the best boxer because you did a montage or ran up and down a hill, or you don't get to say the last dance because you did some hip hop moves, know, in a 5-second montage. But that's the thing. Your life is a story, but it's the expanded edition with no director or editor's cut. There are no cuts at all. You don't get to skip the work, but you can make the work enjoyable. And I hate that we have associated adulthood with just getting used to doing things you don't like, things that suck. You should enjoy, and that's a sign that something is also in your calling, that you don't just enjoy the end, but you also enjoy the process, that you enjoy the work as well. And so make sure that you don't delude yourself or fool yourself when you're watching TV and movies and wondering why it happened so quickly for them. Even people in real life who you see show up and seemingly blow up, I guarantee you they have always, almost always had some sort of background knowledge or preparation in either that arena or a similar one that has given them the preparation. But nobody skips the preparation. Even those who are extremely talented still have to work hard to refine their skills and to improve in the areas that they don't have natural gifting in that may still be necessary for them to win in that arena. So don't forget, you still have to do the work. You can't just put it all into a cute little cut up, but that's the majority of what is going to make you who you need to be to succeed. Now, if you've seen Princess Diaries or even just around the internet, you have seen this iconic scene, and there is a certain thing I want to pinpoint here.
I'm gonna take this and give you
A princess.
Okay, so Mia looks stunning, obviously. Great transformation. But here's the thing I want you to take away from this is that you can make an external change instantly But the same thing cannot be said for an internal change. But it doesn't mean don't make an external change, all right? Because you will see how her elevating her appearance actually does open new doors and opportunities for her, good and bad. There are people who are interested in her who weren't interested before, people who pay attention and you're no longer invisible and you actually get more access to the right rooms. And this is just the way the world is set up, y'all. And instead of, virtue signaling about how wrong it is, maybe we need to understand why that element is actually there because the way that you present yourself says something about you. And people who don't take care of themselves are going to be a lot less likely to be trusted with the welfare of other people or other things. And it's like if you don't even respect yourself enough to put a brush through your hair and put some lips or put some chapstick on, then why would I trust you with my investment portfolio or with my marriage as a relationship counselor or with my business as an entrepreneur? And so make sure that you don't devalue the physical because although the Bible is certainly true and it says that charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised, we still see the Proverbs 31 woman. It says is she's dressed in fine linen, okay? So even though that should be the icing on the cake though, but know that it'll never replace the entire cake. So we just have to have it in its proper order. It's a part of the process, but only a small part that makes up an entire picture of you being the woman that you were created to be. Now, this part is when her best friend and her best friend's brother see her for the first time after her makeover. And just watch what happens.
Oi, who destroyed you?
You think it looks that bad?
You look ridiculous. You should sue.
And she continues to go on talking about how bad it is. And so this is Lily. And I haven't mentioned Lily. I've skipped a lot of scenes with her aired up to this point, actually. Because I could have just made a whole separate video about Lily and how terrible it is to have someone like this in your life and in your circle, but you most likely do. And it might be a friend, it might even be a family member. But here's the thing that, you will likely have a Lily. And Lily is someone who wanted to confine Mia to her image and to her expectations. She had a box for Mia that she expected her to stay in, which we are not the cheerleaders. We don't conform to these social images. We're different. We're weird. Like, and to the point where Mia trying to do anything other than what she approved of, she met with stark resistance and outward combatants. And so sometimes your Lily may be a little more subtle. They may offer distractions to your destiny, not downright discouragements, or they may alter alternatives to your mission related activities. But this should be expected that when you are working towards becoming who you are meant to be and really rediscovering your spark, there are going to be people who, because they are what happens when you transform is you put a mirror up to somebody's life and it's not intentional. It happens very normally the same way that if you strike a match in a dark room, the match is not trying to cast out darkness. The light simply does that as a byproduct of what it is and what by nature is designed to do. And when you are stepping into your calling and moving and getting things done, it is a mirror to everyone around you who is sitting on their potential, who is sitting on their gifts and not doing anything with it. And there are two responses to that. They're either going to take that in and say, oh my gosh, this is inspiring to me. How do I do this as well? Or are they going to fight tooth and nail for why you are wrong, why you shouldn't be doing this, why they don't have to do it, because they want to justify it to themselves why them doing nothing is an okay thing to do. But it's really because you are offending them without even trying. So your life becomes that mirror that is displaying their own wasting and fading potential. And many people don't want to look. And so what are they going to do? They're going to try to break the mirror and tear you down in order to protect themselves. So at this point, Lily has had it up to here with Mia and her being weird and acting different. And so she says, you're clearly being weird. Something is going on and you're not telling me. So we're not friends anymore. And with that, Mia caves and tells her. And here's what happens.
Shut up, shut up! I'm sorry I was harsh and I don't know what else there is to say. Will you come on my cable show?
Oh my goodness. And with friends like that, you don't need enemies, okay? This is the first time that Mia is telling Lily about her being a princess. And after saying, sorry, I was harsh, very briefly, Next thing she says is ask if Mia can come on the cable show, on her cable show. The first thing she thinks about is opportunistically, how could this give her an advantage? That's crazy. And if you have people like this in your life that you are continuing to keep around for the sake of history, for the sake of them having been there, you have to understand that everybody cannot go with you where you are going, and that you trying to pull people along is not virtuous. It's actually something that is vital, that is killing you and preventing you from being able to go where you need to go. And there is no righteousness or holiness in trying to pull somebody and you're not leaving them, you're walking away. Like you're not walking away from them, you are walking toward your destiny. If they are standing still and not working towards there, then you're naturally going to drift apart, and that is okay. All right? And you just got to let it happen. And then what does she say after this? Let's find out.
Are you really sure you can run a country? I mean, you could barely keep your goldfish alive for more than a couple of days.
You know, Lily, I'm not really sure of anything right.
And again, the next thing she does after ask her to go onto the cable show is doubt her ability to even do the job. And this is why people talk about how you often lose friends when you succeed. And it's true. On my journey from living with my mom to becoming a millionaire by 25, there were so many people that I thought were going to come with me that simply were not in a place to. And one of those reasons is because they hold you to who you were, even once you have started showing evidence that you are someone else. And even when you haven't gone to the club, if that's your thing, in 5 years, and they still hold you to, Tisha, she's a party girl. She'll throw them back. And you haven't even stepped foot in a function in 5 years. Yet they are still expecting that of you. You used to be angry or you used to be lazy, and they're still speaking that over you and over your life. And you at some point are going to get tired of trying to defend yourself, tired of trying to explain your actions to people who are insistent on allowing you to stay misunderstood and are not actually trying to get any new understanding on the person that you are today. And so when you see someone and you tell big ideas to small-minded people and they react this way, that should be your first sign that this probably isn't going to be the type of person who can come with you. And you can go ahead and start mentally preparing for that space to naturally occur, because the more that you are around them, they're either going to start to try to bring you down or they're going to naturally distance themselves because they don't want to see the mirror. And don't just be mindful of how friends treat you when you're bad. You see, some friends come to your rescue when you're bad because it gives them a savior complex. And they honestly take joy in seeing that you are bad and now being the one that gets to help, because that gives them a form of superiority over you. See how people react when you're doing better than them. See the people who come to show up not to your griefs, but to your celebrations. That's what you need. And not when they don't, well, not when they benefit from it, but simply to celebrate you. And that will tell you a lot better. The people who like the post when you're trying to do something new on social media, the people who buy an advanced copy of your book, the people who get food from your catering company, or who support whatever endeavor it is that you are going into, those are the people you need to take mind of. And the people who say that they support you and are your friends, but don't actually show up to clap for you, are the ones who you need to be worried about more than anyone else. So at this point in the movie, Paolo, the guy who did her hair and everything, leaked that she is actually the Princess of Genovia because he wanted credit for it. And so she goes to school, and all these reporters and everyone is showing up, and people who were mean to her now saying they're her friend, that people are obviously paying attention to her, and she's getting asked for autographs. Like all this crazy stuff is happening. And so now Queen Clarice is there, her mother is there, and they're all in the office with the principal. And this is obviously not how it was supposed to go. Nothing was supposed to come out until the ball, where she announced whether she was going to accept it or reject it. And this is the opportunity that she is given here.
You can get out of this whole thing right now.
Your mother is right, Amelia. We had a bargain.
All right, I will think about it and let you know soon.
So I just love that scene. Two reasons. One, because you see, she was given an escape. And oftentimes on your journey, you're going to be given an escape. There are going to be good enough opportunities that come around, good opportunities that aren't God opportunities. They're going to give you a way out that is comfortable, but that you're not actually connected to. Okay, you're going to have options daily decisions, daily outs to choose to do the thing that's going to get you closer, or to do the thing that's going to keep you stagnant. And you're going to have the opportunity to apply for the job that you want versus the job you think you can get. And all of those things, again, are going to compound. And sometimes, again, it's not a clear decision the way that Mia's was, where it's like, okay, you can either do it or you cannot anymore. But again, it's the daily decisions, daily deciding to continue pursuing it, even if you haven't seen anything happen yet. A daily decision to come out and continue watering the plant, even if you don't see any fruit. And another thing we see here, though, is again, even who she is right now at this moment in the movie is not who she was at the beginning. Her grandmother just praised her for her diplomatic answer that she gave, implementing the things she learned in training. So if she had gotten this out at the beginning, she certainly would have taken it. But even now she's got this test, this out option that she used the training because the woman that she is already is the one that she was at the beginning. And so you can literally see it happening and she's stepping in to who she was born to be. So after Mia has a conversation with Lily and now everything's out and she's just really questioning everything. She has a conversation with the security guard, Joe.
Can't I just tell everyone that I simply quit?
No one can quit being who they really are, not even a princess. Now, you can refuse the job, but you are a princess by birth.
How can I tell if I can even do the job?
By simply trying.
Okay, I have to stop here because there's just too much happening right now that I have to address. So Mia said, "Can't I quit being a princess?" What did Joe say? You can refuse the job, but you can never quit being who you are. So if you do not press on your mission or your assignment, it's not that you will lose the desire to do that. You will simply become the person who never completed it. But the potential will not leave you. You will simply take it to the grave. I know with certainty that the cure to cancer, the cure to all of these diseases, that so many of the problems that exist in our world right now are sitting in someone's grave. Someone who stuck with good enough, someone who stuck with comfortable, someone who decided that their comfortability and not being that person was easier or safer than actually being who they were called to be. And so that work that they were assigned to do, it just never got done. And now we have all these deficits in the world that are probably sitting in somebody watching this video right now that is, Lord willing, coming alive. And so you have to ask yourself, are you prepared to do that and to deal with that? And I break that down in a video I did recently, the one Bible story that made me a millionaire, the parable of the talents, and that we're going to be required to give an account to God for what we did with the investment that he made into us. And you saw right after that, she says, "Well, how do I even know that I can do the job?" And he says, "By simply trying." You see, the key is to stop trying to wait for a sign and to understand that the answers are in your actions and that the peace that you are searching will only be found in you actually progressing and doing the thing. You see, so many of us, we are waiting for God to write it on the wall. We're pulling out liver shivers and all this other stuff to know the will of the Lord. But outside of the will that he's written in scripture, he does not leave it up to us to try to guess what he wants us to do. He says, the heart of the man plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. How is he directing your steps if you're not stepping, my sister? How is he directing your steps if you are not up and actively moving? Okay. And it says, trust the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to thine own understanding. And all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Meaning he will direct you of where you're going when you are on the way, not before you leave. All right. And you have an internal guide, that spark, which is literally telling you you have an inclination, you have a curiosity. Throughout this entire video, there's probably something that came to your mind that you know has been pressed upon your heart and spirit. And maybe you don't understand how it would happen or where it came from or where it would go, but that's not for you to understand. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You simply need to take the first step. So now we're at Mia's first royal dinner, and it has gone a mess up to this point. She is trying, but everything is going wrong. She accidentally catches a man's sleeve on fire. She eats a palate cleanser that you're meant to have a small bit of and ends up eventually spitting it out and kind of standing there jumping around like a monkey. She breaks glass trying to tap on it and get people's attention. And then I'll just show you this kind of final scene where everything just all turns to moot.
I'm out here.
I'm stopping.
Yeah, so there's just so much that goes wrong this night, and I think that's really important to see, though, because she does try. She went to the royal ball. She tried to use the things that she had learned, but trying to do something, even being born to do that thing, doesn't mean that it's going to be effortless and easy all the time. It doesn't mean that when you put something out there, it's going to be immediately received or that it won't need to be workshopped or that it's going to happen on the first strike. And I think, especially as Christians, we often misunderstand and misinterpret that to think that because we are called to do something, that it means that the path there is going to be without friction. And I want to ask a simple question. Have we read the Bible? Like, did you see the journey from David, from where he was to becoming king? Did we see the journey from Joseph to from the pit to the palace? Like, do we see the journey of all these people from where they are to their destiny? And it's never one that doesn't come with trials. And it's because those tests and those trials are what refine us and make us into that type of person that can, again, be where we need to be. And so don't be discouraged and don't feel like it's a sign that you're not meant to do it just because it didn't happen immediately or it didn't go the way that you thought that it would. Okay, so in this scene, this is after the dinner, and Mia went to bed really disappointed and feeling like she failed. And this is her first interaction with her grandmother after that ball or after that dinner.
You're not mad at me for what happened?
Actually, I found it rather funny. Reminds me of my first royal dinner party. I accidentally knocked over a suit of armor, and the spear went right through the suckling pig.
You see, and this is why we cannot compare our day one to someone else's year 20. Okay. And what we have to understand is that, again, the person who is where you would like to be, they didn't start there. No one does. And I find that incredibly encouraging to know that if God did it in someone else's life, that if he could transform them, that if he could take them, and if they could trust him on that ride, that faithfully, when the seed is put into the ground, that apple seed will eventually become a beautiful, soaring, deeply rooted apple tree. And that we really just have to trust the process. And this just a side tip. When you're studying people, make sure you pay attention to what they did at the beginning, not what they're doing now, because the strategy changes when you hit different levels. What you do when you're at level 20 is a different methodology and strategy and philosophy than what you did when you were at level 1. So make sure that you're studying incrementally so that you're not trying to do techniques or methods that are not meant for the level that you are on yet. And don't compare yourself to anyone, first of all, but certainly not someone who has been doing the thing that you want to do 20 years longer and expecting that you're going to have anything comparable to what they will have when you're just starting out. So, despite her grandmother telling her she didn't think it was all that big of a deal, still seems very disappointed in herself and very discouraged. So, what does her grandmother offer?
Amelia, why don't we cancel lessons for today and just have some fun? You're not like too busy for something like that?
Your Majesty, Lady Jerome has just arrived, and I have the French consulate's assistant on hold. He wants to confirm tonight's dinner.
Send my apologies. Cancel everything for today.
This is such an important principle. You see, her grandmother, she's not queen for no reason, okay? She knows what's going on and what's needed. And that's a part of wisdom is not knowing what to do necessarily, but sometimes it's knowing when to do it. And this is something that I had to learn, and that sometimes you have to understand the difference between when it's time to quit versus when you need a break. Okay. And that there are many times where you'll be overwhelmed, you'll be up to here, you will feel like this can't be the right thing to do. And if you just like take a day off, like go to the beach, go to the park, read a book, do something you enjoy, take a rest, go pray, like just take a day off, take a week off if you've been working on a long project and it's been very difficult and very tiring and time consuming, then make sure that before you ever decide to quit something that you just give yourself a break from it. Because 9 times out of 10, you don't actually want to quit. You are just tired. And here's the thing that you have to understand is that rest isn't a reward. It's a requirement. There's a reason why even God rested after creating the earth. There's a reason why he set up this pattern of 6 days working and 1 day resting. It's because the work is necessary, or the rest is necessary to be able to effectively do the work. And so do not deprive yourself of that and then wonder why you feel like you can't keep going. It's because you haven't actually stepped back and taken any time to recharge so you can have something to actually outpour. You're trying to fill from an empty cup. So make sure you take that time to recharge and fill your cup back up so that you can bring your best self to your assignment. Where this scene is picking up from, Mia accidentally hit a trolley kind of vehicle. There was a police officer, they went to go to jail, all this other stuff was happening. That's all beside the point. The point is her grandmother used her diplomatic skills and her ability to persuade and to use perception and different things like that in order to help get them out of the situation. And so this is the first time that Mia is really being able to see her grandmother, the queen, in action. And here's what she thinks about it.
Goodbye. You are awesome. You are the coolest queen ever.
All in a day's work.
Wait, goodbye! That's a queen!
Now, the reason why I wanted to include this scene is because you should put yourself around people who inspire you. And when you feel overwhelmed and like you're down in the weeds, you can take a look up and around and remind yourself of the vision. And this is also something that was so huge in what we teach in my program, the Abundance Code, where we teach people how to actually break through their wealth limits. And if you're interested, I do have a free training that goes over the three ways to make your money multiply automatically without using willpower or discipline or any of that. And it all goes back to some of these subtle things. And one of them is the environment that you put yourself in. And that is in the description again for people interested. But the environment that you put yourself in is so pivotal to to calibrating your brain and your mind to be able to be at the level that you want to be at. If you're constantly surrounding yourself with people who are not pursuing their dream, people who aren't living in their calling, people who are content with we already use the content, who are complacent and who are okay not having everything that God has said is theirs, then you will find that you will find yourself drained and feeling very out of place as well. But when you put yourself around people who are working towards the same mission, who are working towards maybe not the specific same thing, but that they're working towards being the best them that God created and to being the best version of them and to not take a single drop of potential to the grave, that you will not be able to help but be inspired. And you talk to them and you feel energized and ready to work because you see them working and it inspires you to get on your thing too. That is the best type of friendship, the best relationships. And if you don't have them, I mean, hi, welcome. Hopefully, this channel is doing that for you as well. And putting yourself around books and podcasts in the meantime while you are praying for God to send reinforcements and help for people who can be in your community and circle that you can look up to and be inspired by and can remind you of the vision and why you're doing what you're doing. So in this scene, Mia's going to school and she's starting to adjust to who she is and to being noticed. And of course, the people are still there, cameras are there, and even students are there, younger students asking her for her autograph. And so you see here, she is signing her name and she writes it Princess initially, but she does something interesting.
That's a funny name.
Will you take a picture with me, Princess? The princess is late for algebra.
So she starts off writing her name and signing it as Princess, but then she crosses it out and puts Mia. And again, directors are very intentional. They're showing us this for a reason. And this is a place that all of us are and will be at some point on our journey, is that place that's in between who you are and who you're becoming, or rather the you that you are embracing and remembering. And it's difficult and uncomfortable. And sometimes it can feel like pretend or like pretension. Like, who am I to get on this camera and speak authoritatively to people about anything? And you can doubt yourself, or, who am I to write a book? Or who am I to, start a cooking channel and show people recipes? I'm not a chef. I didn't go to this. I didn't go to college. And these doubts can come in and it can cause us to question if we really are who we say that we are, or if we're just trying to pretending to be something that we're not. And this is what we see Mia struggling with right here, is she like kind of is halfway aware and cognizant that she is a princess, but she's not comfortable enough to fully claim and walk in the identity yet. So now we're going to have to address something that I've been avoiding this entire movie, but we have to talk about it. So let's just watch.
So, I hope Atlantis on TV didn't freak you out too much. No. Okay, good, because I broke up with her because of it, and I hate phony publicity seekers. Anyway, Saturday night's the big beach party. Well, I think it'd be cool if we went together. See you on the waves.
So this is Josh, if that's his name. I really don't remember, and I just saw the movie this week. I just, I lose brain cells looking at his character. But she has had a crush on this kid Josh forever, and her mom even says when she says that she's going to the dance with him that she says, "Isn't he that boy who's never been nice to you and who's always been mean to you?" And even throughout this, there are multiple scenes where Mia is getting bullied, and he's right there, and his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend rather, Lana, who we'll get to in a second, is the primary one who is doing it, and he's not standing up for her or trying to tell Lana, that's wrong, don't do that. He's just there, and sometimes he's a part of the one that's actually making fun of her, and he really ignores her and doesn't really realize that she exists until it comes out that she's a princess. And then, of course, now he's super interested. She's got her look upgraded. He knows about her status and her prestige, and he asks her to this beach party dance. So let's see. I'm going to show you a couple of scenes that are going to show what ensues due to this thing. And trust me, there's a lesson here, okay? So scene one, here they are at the dance when they get busted.
Hey, princess, give us a smile.
How did they find me here?
What?
How did they find me here?
So then they proceed to go into a cabin. And in that cabin, he tries to put the moves on her. The mood is not right. And so then he says, "Oh, well, you know what? In the meantime, why don't we do a foot massage?" And she's like, "That'd be so great." And he puts his foot up for her to massage his foot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now what happens? Then they think the pressure gone, and he's like, "The coast is clear. I think we can go back out." And this is where it goes. Okay. So obviously, yeah, they get caught by the press. He kisses her and she hits him and then she runs away. So he's obviously using her to get his 15 minutes of fame. It's probably very likely that he's the one who even told them that she was going to be there because he wanted this opportunity. And obviously she tries to run away and he literally tells her, "No, stay," so that he can get his 15 minutes of fame. And he even stays there and answers questions to the press as she is running away. So we clearly know what his motives are. Now, why did I feel the need to show you all of this? Well, because sometimes your denial is your deliverance, okay? Sometimes that thing that you are praying for, that you are wanting for, that you are working for, that you think will be so good for you. And for women, I don't know why, but for us, a lot of times it comes in mail-sized packages, okay? But it's actually the Lord delivering you from something that you haven't even gotten into. And we have to sometimes be okay with that. We have to let that be okay. And that guy that you just think is so great, that's just not that into you. He may be you the Lord may be protecting you from a world of heartache that you don't even know exists, okay? And even beyond males and dating, a lot of times your rejection is your protection. So your job is to try. And if you apply for the job and you knock on every door and nothing moves, then that's okay to redirect and figure out a different way to move forward. But that's where you have to have discernment really and understanding what your calling is and what you're supposed to be doing. But this was not in alignment with Mia's identity at all. And some of you may say, "What do you mean her identity? She's a teenage girl." Yes, but she's a princess. She's not a normal teenage girl. And so this is what happens when you start acting in alignment with your old identity instead of your new one. Things will go wrong and not go wrong for the right reason, like learning and trying, but go wrong in terms of things that are going to ultimately be to your detriment and pulling you further away from your calling. And this isn't the only incident that is resulted from her being here.
Well, here, we've got your clothes. You'll be a lot warmer.
You guys want to help me?
Yeah, Josh is such an idiot. We're gonna make sure no one bothers you.
Thank you. It's really nice of you. It's so pretty. Thank you so much.
So, I mean, obviously, this is a trap, and they put Mia in there, and then they go get the press, and then they literally remove the changing tent and try to expose her being naked as a minor. So many problems with this, like in front of the press with cameras and everything else. And Lana, which is the girl in pink, the blonde one who's like the ringleader here, has been Mia's number one hater the entire movie. Not after she got all of her stuff dolled up, but even before then, even when she was just sitting there trying to mind her business, Lana would find herself bullying Mia and always picking her out of the crowd. And people may say, "Well, why is that?" And I think that truly, 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 haters have a sixth sense. They do. They do. And if you find that people often do not like you when you do nothing to them, it's because they have seen more of your potential than you have the ability to right now. And I truly believe, again, the Bible says we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against dominions and principalities and rulers in high places. There is spiritual warfare going on. There are demons who are agitated and aggravated by the calling that is dripping off of you. And they can see it oftentimes again before you can. And so if you are wondering why you constantly are being antagonized, first I need you to do a little reflection, make sure you're not in sin and you're not bringing that upon yourself. But if you genuinely are not doing anything and you find that people continually are bothering you, bullying you, trying to speak down on you, then it's because you have a high calling on your life. So this scene is the next day, and Mia is at the house of Queen Clarice, and she has made front page news, quite literally. So let's see what the queen says.
Please say something. Well, there's not much to say. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and you have 2 pictures.
I really embarrassed the family, didn't I?
Not to put too fine a point on it, yes, you did.
There's a big distinction that I want you to understand, and it's this. Clarice was not upset that Mia made a mistake because she fumbled through the royal dinner and Queen Clarice told her, "Hey, it happens. That happened at my first dinner too." This is the difference between failing inside your calling and a distraction that is outside of your calling. You see, when she was at that dinner, she was still in the arena. She was uncomfortable in the middle of growth. The mistakes, though, were made on the path of purpose, and those mistakes are not only acceptable, but they are expected. But when Mia went to the beach party, that was not failing forward. That was abandoning alignment in favor of comfort and external validation and distraction. And that is what grieved the queen because it wasn't about mistakes, it was about alignment. And so being mindful with is what you're doing reinforcing your old identity or placing a new brick on top of your new one? Because it's either one or the other. There is no neutrality. We are either growing or dying. And that's why Clarice is disappointed in Mia here, not for making a mistake, but because she cared more about comfort and validation and distraction than she did her assignment. Now, this scene takes place when Mia goes back to school, and let's see what everybody's reaction is now that she has publicly failed.
Hey, it's me at Thermopylae Lips.
Can you autograph your picture for me? Josh did. Hey, there's Princess Pucker up.
And so now, in a matter of a snap of a finger, she's back to being a social pariah and an outcast, all because of one mistake that she made that was publicized. And so people at her school went from ignoring her in the beginning to then praising her and getting her autograph once the news came out to now literally making fun of her again. And there's a quote from a Christian rapper, and he says, "They'll hail you, then nail you, no matter who you are." Okay. Just like they did Jesus, hailing him on one day and crucifying him just a few days later. And this is why you cannot do it for the people. This is why you have to write Galatians 1:10 on your heart and remind yourself that you are a servant of Christ and not a servant of man. Because people will turn on you. People will support you one day and say that they knew you, and then saying that they knew that you would crash when you do. And so it can never be for them or about them because they will turn on you. And even the compliments can't mean too much to you because if the compliments weigh a lot to you, then so will the criticism. And so it can't be about revenge. It can't be about proving someone wrong or even about proving someone right. And I want to make my parents proud and da 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 da. You have to be performing for an audience of one because everyone else will at some point or another waver. They will disapprove of a decision you make because it wasn't the same thing that they would have done. And if you are living and dying at their word, then you're going to die in a way that you never anticipated and quicker than you ever thought possible. So this conversation takes place a while after the last event, right when there is about to the balls coming up where she has to officially announce whether or not she is renouncing or whether or not she's going to accept. And here is where Mia's head is at.
You are an extraordinary person, Grandma, but I don't think I meant to do this. I would be so afraid that I would disappoint the people of Genovia, and I couldn't bear to disappoint you again.
So right here, we see the heart of why Mia is declining becoming princess. And it goes back to the same thing that got her mother, which is fear. And I won't dive too much into this because the movie gives a great response to it, but just be cognizant of that the why as for why she's not moving forward is because she said she's afraid she's going to disappoint people and she's afraid she's going to disappoint her grandmother. And again, just like I said right before that, people cannot be your reason for doing or not doing. It has to be because you are called by God and you are fulfilling this mission and you are performing for truly an audience of one. Now, Queen Clarice asks her one more favor before she leaves.
I need you to formally renounce your title for the press. At the ball, you know?
Oh, do you think that maybe, considering my history with the press, it would be better if you did it?
So you see, we're making the full circle, the breadcrumbs that were dropped right at the beginning about Mia's struggles and giving speeches. And this is also something that she had been practicing during her queen preparation with Queen Clarice. And so it's now coming back full circle because remember, the trial happened before the test. Now, Mia has no desire to do this. She is now planning to run away as we are in the scene. She's packed her cat, she's packed her stuff, she's given everybody the runaround about how she's going to get to the ball, and she is planning on leaving until a note, a letter from her father who has passed, drops out of the diary that she was given, and she reads it. And this is where we get our answer to her concern of fear that has generationally now held her family back. And will she overcome it? Let's see.
Amelia, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. The brave may not live forever, but the cautious do not live at all. From now on, You'll be traveling the road between who you think you are and who you can be. The key is to allow yourself to make the journey.
Oh my goodness, Papa Amelia. I have nothing else to add to that except just to put a fine point. Like literally, courage is not the absence of a fear, but rather the judgment that something is more important than fear. And what is more important than fear? Again, she's gonna get to that later. I'm not gonna step on the rest of this. I'm gonna let it come full circle for everyone. But man, like the brave may not live forever, but the cautious do not live at all. And that's what we talk about the concept of the second spark and just like people who are dim, who are domesticated animals who have been trained out of your own wild and intuitive nature, the gifts that you have been given. And that space that he says right there is so good of like you're gonna travel there between who you think you are and who you think you can be, between the now and the growing. And so that's just like growing into who you are always created to be. And the key is allowing yourself to make that journey, meaning that you don't stop at seed level just because you're not producing fruit, but you trust that with the process that you will eventually be able to produce the fruit because that was always your destiny. And just because you didn't see it happening overnight doesn't mean that we retreat and we pick it up from the ground and we just start planting all these different seeds thinking that something is going to give us crops instantly. And even the crops that you do get instantly, they often produce the smallest harvest. You have to stop thinking like a bread maker who's just trying to get daily bread every single day and start thinking like a wine maker who understands that as time compounds and you are allowing the process to work, that you are going to be able to create something that is immeasurably more valuable. So after this point, Mia is obviously properly inspired and has a new understanding of fear and how we can fight it and overcome it. And he really addresses that identity shift, which is one of the reasons this movie is so powerful of like that this is a normal tension and you have to allow yourself to take the journey, which I pray that you're taking that from this as well. But so what does she do? And this is a huge sign to how you will know if you are truly ready to walk in your assignment.
Gotcha! Sorry, Mr. Rosen.
So, what does she do? She runs out of the house. She's not dressed. Her hair is not done. She's got on, it's literally pouring rain and storming. Her car is not good. And so, what happens when you are ready to make a way? That means you are done making excuses. And she came and she showed up to make the speech despite not seeing herself as a good speaker, despite being absolutely soaking wet and in the wrong attire, despite being late, that she could have easily said, well, it's too late. I probably have missed the window. I probably don't have this option, this opportunity anymore. The weather's really bad. Well, no one is here to pick me up. And that is how you know when you are ready, when you decide that it doesn't matter how long it takes or what it takes, that you will get there no matter what. That is how you know that you are ready and it is time. If you comment a single thing down here of why you can't do it, then it simply means that you are not ready yet. So in this scene, Mia arrives soaking wet in normal clothes to the ball and is giving her speech. Here's what she says.
I'm really no good at speech making. Normally, I get so nervous that I faint or run away, or sometimes I even get sick. But you really didn't need to know that. But I'm not so afraid anymore.
You see, this is just beautiful because she didn't turn into the world's greatest speech maker or writer or performer in 3, 4 weeks, however long it was from A to B. She still struggles with it, but it's that she is growing and she's learning and she is putting herself out there despite not feeling like she is ready. And that is what growing and trying is.
Then I wondered how I'd feel after abdicating my role as Princess of Genovia. Would I feel relieved or would I feel sad? And then I realized how many stupid times a day I use the word I.
I preach this all the time that if you could just not think about yourself, if you could care about the people who will be blessed by your fruit more than you care about the discomfort of growing into the tree, then we would all be just a million steps further than we are just as a society at large. And there are times when sin can creep in, when the flesh can creep in, and I may not feel like doing something, even something that I genuinely like doing or want to do or know that I'm being called to do, but maybe I feel scared or maybe there's tension or whatever. And you know what gets me to get up and do it anyway? is to say and remind myself like that there is somebody who needs this. There is somebody whose life will change because of this. This style of video that I'm doing where I'm giving like life lesson commentary in pop culture videos. I don't see anyone else. There's no one else that I know of that's doing this. And I am kind of freaking out about posting it and wondering if it's going to flop, wondering if it's going to resonate with people, wondering if people will even get it, if there's even an audience for this type of content. And maybe there is and maybe there isn't. But I said, if just one person watches this and is touched and is changed and is sparked to revival and is able to uncover or make a move because of my obedience, then like that is worth it to me. And it has to stop being about you and start being about the people who you're going to be able to help and touch through your gifting and through your calling. Like, we cannot be so selfish to only think that we will be the only ones affected if we aren't actually pursuing the assignment that God has given us. Because we are designed not to just produce enough fruit for us, but enough fruit to feed the people who are around us as well. Your church, your family, your community, and generations will be impacted by your obedience. And this is something I go into depth with in the training that I have that's free that I've mentioned, the 3 ways to multiply your money without discipline and hustle and willpower and stuff like that. And it's that I was literally able to now give more on a monthly basis to my church than I used to make sometimes in a single year. And that is only through obedience and through understanding that the help that I could give in funding the mission of the church, being able to make sure my kids never had to pay for student loans, being able to make sure that my parents didn't have to pay bills for the last 2 years was all bigger than the temporary feelings that I had in the moment or the temporary limiting beliefs that I had let somebody else put into my mind that were never from God in the first place.
Morning when I woke up, I was Mia Thermopolis. But now, I choose to be, forevermore, Amelia Mionette Thermopolis Rinaldi, Princess of Genovia.
Yay. Woo, it's not over yet. Don't leave. So this is when Mia woke up and she now is saying she's choosing to be a princess. But the funny thing is that she always was. She's simply accepting the job, but even if she would have declined it, a princess is who she is. She would never be able to depart from it. And so she just woke up to the side of her, to the part of her, to the embodiment of the woman that was always within her. And she knew from the beginning, remember those breadcrumbs that were dropped of her daydreaming about a different life and not fitting in? She knew that she was not meant to live the life that she was in. This is the second spark that I was mentioning earlier, and that most people lose the light of their purpose when they're young and spend their whole lives trying to find it again. And not to become someone else, whoever the world tells you that you should be, but to become who you were born to be. And although Mia was born into a clear birthright, being a princess, it's not about what you're born into as much as it is what you step up to. And that all of us were born with a birthright, which is the spark that we have, which is the work that we were created to do. And your second spark is there. You just have to know how to find it, which is again what I teach in the newsletter that's free that you can grab in the description. So, 2 more scenes that we're going to look at, and these are just going to wrap everything up and bring it home.
Hoping you will be too.
Grandma, but you had it already. How did you know I'd even be here?
Because I recognize the same spirit in you as someone else I know.
Who?
Me.
What did I say at the beginning, y'all? Your assignment is already expecting you. It's always expecting you. The rooms that you are destined to walk into have already been prepared for you. The path that you are going to walk has already been walked before you. And so that is why we can go forward boldly and courageously, knowing that God is with us and that all things work for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So let's look at this iconic closing and what it means. And then I want you to drop in the comments what was your most powerful lesson that you learned from this video. But let's look at this last part because you can't end the movie without this. Okay, are you ready for it?
Princess, look out the window. And welcome to Genovia.
Oh, that's just, and it's just the perfect ending and culmination, not just to the movie, but to this video, because this scene is just so beautiful because that lookout and welcome to Genovia, because when you find out where you are meant to be, going to it doesn't feel like being someplace new. It feels like coming home. And I pray that each person watching this video that you will find where home is for you, the place that you truly belong, and the work that you were created to fulfill. And it's just like the song says, miracles happen when you believe, and belief is the fuel that will start to reignite your second spark. So if you enjoyed the video, please comment below. And again, tell me what was your favorite lesson from the video. And if you enjoyed the series and want more life lessons from movies and breakdowns like this that have applicable life lessons that show you the story within the story and how these can be breakthroughs applied to your own life. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless. Miracles happen once in a while when you believe. Mm, mm, mm.